I'm going to preface this video by saying I had a laser procedure. This video is going to be for at Bay Life with Benefits. She says, thank you for sharing all of your information. We'd love to learn more about vetting clients and intake process. So let me explain to you how I handle this. When a client texts me, emails me, or calls me through the platform for whom I work, or they go to my website and send an inquiry, the very first thing that I do, I never talk money. Never speak money. You do not want to scare these guys away. Okay, these guys are more easily scared away than little baby bunnies you find in your yard in the spring. You have to treat them like that. Okay, your goal is to make them calm, confident in your abilities, lead with value and clarity, speak slowly, or respond if you're chatting, texting, respond slowly. Maintain a posture of authority. Okay, so you're leading with value first and foremost. The very first thing that I do is say, hello, tell me who you are. I'm setting the tone that we have now a professional working relationship being established, and you expect them to answer the questions in a timely fashion in the clarity with which you have led by asking the questions. You're setting the tone. You want to watch your wording. You don't want to be too wordy, too lengthy. You're going to ask them, tell me a little bit about who you are, where you are from. What are the kinks or fetishes that interest you? What experience do you have in them? You do not want to come off needy. The air of authority and general tenor of the way you're conducting yourself should feel like, it's nice to meet you. I'm interested in what you have to say. I'm not overly interested nor invested until you become prospect. Everything is suspect until it becomes prospect. So if you act too enthusiastic, too needy, too hungry, you're double texting, they're going to be like, oh, she's desperate for business. You do not want that coming across. You want to behave in a manner, introduce yourself to me. I'm going to introduce myself to you. I'm going to ask a series of questions. Again, this is how we're vetting. If he's just looking for a quick hit, he's just horny and just wants to play, get off real quick, you'll get that. And you'll have to decide for yourself if that's something you want to take. If you're looking to establish long-term clients of value, then you continue on with the process that I'm talking about. So you're now asking him to tell you, where are you from? What part of the country? I'm in Las Vegas. What time zone are you in? About how old are you? I'm going to assume that you're married and living kind of a closeted life with this kink. How long have you had this kink or fetish? Tell me what experience you have in it. And with that, you may even want to say, is there something in particular you're coming to me for that you would like to explore with this? You're asking a series of questions. So you're understanding, is this a one-hit call? Is this a guy who can't find a girl to speak to? Is he looking for long-term? Is this a lifestyle thing that he's wanting constant contact? As you're asking these questions, your mind is going to be spinning with ideas, questions, looking at him the entire time through the lens of how am I going to keep him interested, keep him on the hook? It's like dating. How am I going to keep this guy's interest? Not act too needy. Satisfy what he's looking for and leave him wanting more. So he will return and return and return. Okay? Everything you're doing, we call it the A, B, C. Always be closing. So now you're asking these questions. Does he live in Nebraska? Is he working at Walmart? Or does he own a business? Is he in real estate and he owns rental properties? You don't want to ask too many specifics, speak in generalities, because you can definitely scare them away easily. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to get a feel for what kind of money does he make? How much does he want to spend on this time and money? You know, how much does he want to invest on this time and money? And it's not to say that the bartenders, the servers, the guy at Walmart don't have discretionary income, because they do. But you just need to understand where they sit on that financial spectrum without specifically asking. Any of the girls who immediately go straight to money, that's how you lose a client. If they say they're a FinDom, they're lying, because FinDom is steeped in psychology, getting to the core of what this guy needs and wants that no one else has been able to do. That's your job if you want to keep him as a client, especially a returning, regular, high-paying client. You are there to manage goals, needs, challenges, problems, and deliver what he's looking for. So through this process, I keep it actually pretty brief. You know, who are you? Where are you from? Relative age, occupation, part of the country, time zone. Time zone is important because if he's in New York and I'm in Vegas, I need to be able to understand how that looks, because his 5 o'clock when he gets off of work is still the lunchtime for me, basically. So these are important things. And then to find out where he sits on the spectrum of experience. And then once you have this limited amount of base data, you can take it from there. What you do not want to do is make it a session, because a lot of these guys will just dial for dollars. They're just calling around doing an intake with someone who has this process, and then they get off doing that, and then they never call you again. So you want to keep it brief and professional with very little to no emotion involved, so he's not sitting there like, oh, and then you never hear from him again. Then you say, well, I'm busy today. You do a takeaway in sales. Call it a takeaway. Always be closing. I don't have time today, but how's tomorrow? Let's have a conversation and set up our first session. Whether it's an intake session and I ask you questions, or whether you want to jump straight to playing, that we can discuss later. And that's it. You drive everything to a close. All right? Now you've just cut out, who is he? What does he want to do? Does he fit into my roster? Do I have time for him? Do I cater to his specialty? All of these things, so you're not wasting your own time. You're getting a feel for who he is. And I recommend having a good mix of wealthy, successful men, blue-collar men, college student guys. Have a good mix, because some of the lower-earning men are consistent, and they will get you through some of the drier times when the rich guys aren't around. I hope this helps. Ask me anything you guys need.